I believe that every clothing brand owner's goal is to build a brand that allows them to quit their 9 to 5. And I was able to do that at just 18 years old. And if you don't know me, my name is D. I'm 21 years old now. I've successfully scaled my clothing brand past $500,000 and also helped dozens of clothing brand owners hit their first 10K months and also reach 6 and 7 figure years. So in this video, I'm going to explain exactly what I did to go from working a 9 to 5 job to quitting that 9 to 5 job off of a clothing brand. And it was really three simple phases that I went through, or rather, three simple things that I did to get me there that you're probably not doing right now. And hence, that's the reason why you're stuck in your 9 to 5. So listen up. Let's go ahead and get to it. The very first thing I would say that I did was before before my 9 to 5 was crucial. How I started my day was crucial. A lot of people, when working a 9 to 5 and trying to build a business, they got to be at work at 9. They wake up at 8 o'clock in the morning and head immediately to work. And the first thing they think about is their job, and their energy is immediately negative and upset and agitated in the morning because they have to get straight to work and go work their 9 to 5. And that's completely reasonable. Like, if you have to wake up every single day, go work at a job that you dislike, I can imagine your energy not being where it needs to be. But the thing about energy is it's extremely important. And I don't want to make this video about spiritual or emotional things. I more so want to focus on the concepts that took me from working a 9 to 5 job that I hated to building a successful brand that allowed me to quit. So I started my brand. Well, I failed two brands before I started Conflicted Lovers and sold out our first drop. But I started my first two brands while I was working at a movie theater. And that was actually my first job. And before I built Conflicted Lovers, I was not spending my time before I had to clock in actually building the brand. I would just wake up like 30 minutes before I had to go to work, put my clothes on, head out, be upset and tired that I had to actually go to work. And obviously, that's not going to get you to the places that you need to get to. So when I actually started building Conflicted Lovers, I realized that I have a 5 to 9 a.m., a 9 to 5, which is during my shift, and then another 5 to 9 or 10 ish after my shift. So I took advantage of that 5 to 9 before my shift. As I was building Conflicted Lovers, when we sold out our first clothing brand drop, from the day I decided that I wanted to rebuild my brand after failing two brands, I woke up every single day at 5 a.m. And I know a lot of people are like, don't wake up at 5 a.m. It's dumb. It's not required. I think that's entrepreneurial grind things today, but I absolutely believe that it's required for you guys to get up at least 3 to 4 hours before you have to actually work your job so you could spend your time actually working on your brand. So before I would go to work during the day, I would spend the first 3 hours of my day shooting, editing, scheduling, uploading content. Because I believe that if I didn't do anything throughout the entirety of the day, if I got content uploaded, I made more people aware of my business, and that's always a plus. Even if I didn't get to design that day, even if I didn't get to ship out orders that day, even if I didn't get to talk to my designer that day, at least I got some content uploaded. And I want you guys to think from that same exact perspective. So from 5 to 9, literally, I would get up, I would shoot content, brush my teeth, wash my face, pray to God, shoot content, upload some content, save some drafts. That way I have content to post throughout the day. That way I'm not waking up at the ripe 9, going to work until 5, and then when I get home, I'm already all tired, and then I have chores to do and all these different things at the crib. So I woke up at 5, uploaded my content, scheduled my content, drafted my content so I would have it available to post throughout the day. And that was the very first thing I did, wake up 3 to 4 hours before I actually had to go to work. But I wasn't doing that when I was building my first two brands. And that's actually why I believe that those brands failed, because it wasn't enough effort being put in. I feel like a lot of people underestimate the work that's required to have your business replace your 9 to 5 income, because your 9 to 5 income is built to sustain consistency because you get specific in the hourly wage. The business pretty much ranges, and I believe that's the upside of entrepreneurship in general, is that you can make as much as you choose to make. So that would be the very first thing I did, is spend my before my job working. The second thing I would say I did to escape my 9 to 5 and pretty much build my business full time was I would spend my during working on my brand as well. And even though I was working on a task at my job, I worked at Chick-fil-A, I worked at Kroger, I worked at Rudy's, I worked at Walmart, I worked at FedEx. FedEx was my last job. I quit in 2 days there. While I was working those jobs, along with me working before I had to actually go to work, I would be spending the hours at my job still building my brand. And I know you guys are probably going to be like, how can you build your brand while you're working a job? Don't be so smart, you know, in the sense that there's people there. So I'm talking to people about my brand, getting them to follow my brand. Pretty much all the workers at Chick-fil-A, the employees I was cool with, they knew I was building my brand. And when I dropped my first drop for Conflicted Lovers, I bought about 25 t-shirts to that job specifically for people that had bought them. So, and that was even before I had the bulk order, people were buying them. So I prioritized during my shift to only talk about my clothing brand. I wasn't going to work talking about Aiden Ross and all these different things. I was going to work talking about my business because I wanted my business to be the thing that people knew me for. So I would go to work, talk to guys about my business. When I was on lunch, I would spend my lunch break watching a YouTube video. At Chick-fil-A, we had 30-minute lunch breaks. So there's not a lot of things you can get done in 30 minutes. But I could watch a YouTube video in 30 minutes. So I would literally just sit down, lunch break, watch a YouTube video, take notes. Every single Chick-fil-A lunch break. And I was working about 5 days a week. So at 5 days out the week, every single day I'm learning for 30 minutes and I'm taking notes. And what I would do with those notes is when I got home, actually go ahead and apply them. But along with taking notes and watching YouTube videos on my lunch break, talking to everybody about my job, I would think about my job, not my job. I would think about my brand throughout that entire time period. I would just sit and think about my brand and where I wanted to get into. And I would look at people's clothing and I would think about drops and I would think about designs because I wanted my business to be something that I'm spending my full 24 hours on. That way it's getting the upside. A lot of you guys right now are spending more time on your 9 to 5 than you are on your business, but you expect your business to exceed your 9 to 5. Think about that. You're spending more time at your 9 to 5, more time thinking about your 9 to 5, more time working on your 9 to 5 than you are your business, but you expect your business to exceed your 9 to 5. And it's not going to work like that. So during my shift, I would watch YouTube videos. I would talk to everybody at the job about my brand, and I would think a lot about my brand. And I would also tie the job operations to my brand operations, looking at a successful business that I'm employed by, Chick-fil-A, Walmart. How does this apply to my business? That's what I would think about, just certain things. Like, how does this apply to my business in different areas? And that just obviously made me more business smart, I would say, in a sense. So that was the second thing I did. Work on my brand before my job, work on my brand during my job. And the third thing I did, you guys could probably guess what it is, work on my brand after my job. And you guys are probably doing that right now, but you guys aren't maximizing the ability, right? Because once you leave work, you're tired, you have chores to do, you have to shower, you have to eat, you have girls to text, you're already tired mentally because you were working a job. So you don't want to actually put in no work on the brand because you feel too tired. But I understood that I had to put in more hours on my brand than I did my 9 to 5 job. So as soon as I got home from work, I would shower, I would eat, I would head straight to my room, sit on my desk, open those notes that I took at Chick-fil-A while I was on the shift or took at the job while I was on the shift and started working on whatever I had to work on from those notes. So I would work prior to, work during, and then work after. That after shift was always the funnest shift because it gave me multiple hours. I would be able to work on the brand from 5 to 2 a.m. if I wanted to, and then still get up at 5. And I know you guys are going to be like, well, we need our sleep. We need our beauty rest. But these are the same guys that pretty much stay up to 2 a.m. playing Fortnite or stay up to 2 a.m. watching Love Island. So in total retrospect, I feel like what I'm trying to say right now is You literally just have to be willing to put more into your business than you are into other things inside life. I like to think of things like this. You could either work on your business or you could work on something that's not your business. And the issue that a lot of people have is they spend time and energy focused on things that isn't going to get them the guaranteed reward. And this is something I was actually talking to my friend Lonnie about. He's over there working right now. I was explaining that, bro, at a point in time when we first started our businesses, I was 18 years old, living in my first apartment. We would some nights drive an hour to a college town just to like be in the college town and have the potential opportunity to talk to the girls with nothing guaranteed. And we would spend hours there, and then we would head back home probably at like 3, 4, or 5 in the morning and be all tired, right? And we were willing to do that with the potential reward of maybe something happens, right? But when it comes to our business, with the guaranteed reward that we advance, we don't do the same exact thing. And that's something I want you guys to realize as well, is that I look at business as it's guaranteed to work. Of course, nothing's guaranteed to work, but you have a higher probability of your business growing and improving than you have of getting a girl to sleep with you on a specific night. But you put more energy into getting that girl to sleep with you, or you put more energy into whatever you're doing. So I think it's very important that we just prioritize the business. And those are literally the 3 things that I did. Work on my brand before my job, work on my brand during my job, work on my brand after my job, that allowed me to basically quit my job at 19 years old, and I haven't worked since then. So 19, 20, 21, 3 years, I haven't worked a job, and I've been running my businesses full time, which is amazing. And you can do the same exact thing if you do the same exact thing that I just said. The good thing about this video is that a lot of people are going to watch it, but not a lot of people are going to do it. So if you're a guy that's going to actually do it, you have the upper hand. And if you want me to help you scale your clothing brand business one-on-one, just comment the word scale. I'll shoot you a message. We'll lock in. See you in the next video. Keep scaling.